Okay, so for anyone who's ever, bought or sold property, you probably know the feeling. The endless paperwork, the processes that seem designed to confuse. It's like wandering through a maze sometimes, a real headache. But what if there was something big coming? Something promising, like big relief for home buyers, maybe even cutting out some of those middlemen. Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're doing a deep dive into India's draft registration bill 2025. Our mission here is simple. Pull out the really important bits from our sources. We're looking at articles from Business Today, the Economic Times, and the Indian Express, all to help you understand how this could genuinely transform property deals across the country. Think of it as your cheat sheet, really.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that maze. The current system, it's run by the Registration Act of 1908. Let's unpack that. I mean, why did a law that's over 100 years old become so, well, unsuited for how we live and work today? What was the actual problem?
Yeah, it's quite something, isn't it? 1908, the world was just fundamentally different. That act was mostly paper-based, very time-consuming, and honestly prone to errors and irregularities. It just wasn't designed for things we take for granted now, like online documents or digital ID checks, like using Aadhaar, India's digital identity system.
Right. Things have moved on quite a bit since then.
Hugely. And property documents themselves, they've changed. They aren't just for land anymore. They're crucial for loans, for legal stuff, proving ownership, you name it. So that created this real need for a system that's more solid, more consistent across the board. Now, some states did try, they brought in online uploads, Aadhaar checks.
Sort of patching the old system.
Exactly. But what everyone realized is we need a central law, something consistent to build real trust and make sure things work the same way everywhere.
It makes total sense. Trying to run modern transactions on a 1908 chassis,
Yeah.
it's bound to get clunky. Okay, so we see the problems, the old system being fragmented, slow, paper-heavy. Let's shift to the proposed solution now. This draft registration bill, 2025, it promises digital, paperless, user-friendly. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. What are the big changes people might actually experience?
Right. This is about changing the core experience. First off, and probably the biggest headline, is digital and accessible registration. The idea is that you as a citizen can register property documents digitally. That should massively cut down on those trips back and forth to the sub-registrar's office, the local government place where you do this stuff now.
You're accused, hopefully.
That's the plan. And crucially, the bill offers both online and offline options. Identity checks can happen via Aadhaar or, other physical methods. And this is really important for access. The bill specifically says in Section 29(4) that nobody can be denied registration just because they don't have an Aadhaar number.
Ah, okay. So it's trying to be inclusive, not just digital first at all costs.
Precisely. It aims to cover everyone.
That sounds like a huge leap forward in convenience.
Yeah.
Bringing it all into the 21st century. But thinking about India, it's vast, diverse. Digital literacy, internet access, it varies hugely, doesn't it? How realistic is it to expect everyone to jump onto a digital system straight away? Are there enough safeguards so people aren't left behind?
That's a really critical question. And yeah, the bill seems designed with that in mind. Having both online and offline paths is key to tackling that variability. So while digital is encouraged, the traditional route isn't just disappearing overnight. The continued focus on offline processes, plus that Aadhaar clause we mentioned, is meant to prevent exclusion.
Okay, that's reassuring. Accessibility is vital.
Definitely. And beyond just making it easier, there's a big focus on enhanced security and transparency. Moving to digital records, the hope is, will significantly cut down on fraud and simple errors.
Which can be devastating in property deals.
Absolutely. So the bill mandates these digital records. This should make tracking things much easier and boost the legal standing of key documents. We're talking agreements to sell, powers of attorney, mortgage deeds, sales certificates. The goal is much more transparent, secure transactions, easier to access your records, easier to prove things. It creates a clearer, more dependable ownership trail.
Okay, reducing fraud is obviously great. But, moving everything online opens up new doors, right? Cyber threats are real. What's actually being built in to make this system properly secure against digital attacks? Because the integrity of these records is everything.
Yeah, that's non-negotiable. The bill itself sets the requirement for digital records, but you're right, the how depends on the tech infrastructure behind it. Our sources really stress the need for seriously robust cybersecurity, protecting those digital archives, the e-signatures. It has to be ironclad.
So it's acknowledged as a major task.
Oh, definitely. It's a huge focus area as this moves forward. Security needs to be baked in from the start, not bolted on later. And all this, the accessibility, the security feeds into the next point, streamlined processes and financial impact. Moving online should mean less paperwork, faster processes, and importantly, less reliance on middlemen.
Ah, the middlemen. They can add layers of complexity and cost, can't they?
They certainly can. Business Today specifically called this out as potentially big relief for home buyers for exactly that reason, faster deals, maybe lower overall costs.
And didn't the Economic Times mention something about home loans? That caught my eye.
Yes, that's a huge potential benefit. Faster home loan approvals. Think about it. If banks and financial institutions can access and verify property documents much more easily and quickly through this digital system,
Then the whole loan process speeds up.
how?
For anyone buying a home, that's massive. Less waiting, less uncertainty.
Exactly. It could really change the dynamics of getting finance for property. And connected to all this, making things clearer, reducing fights later on, the bill actually expands the list of documents that must be registered. Compulsory registration.
So it's not just digitizing the old stuff, it's adding more to the official record.
Right. It's about increasing legal clarity. Section 12 now specifically includes things like agreements of sale, powers of attorney, those sale agreements we mentioned, mortgage by deposit of title deed, even things like company mergers and demergers under the Companies Act.
Okay, so quite a broad scope.
The idea is to get more critical transactions formally recorded from the outset, minimizing ambiguity down the line.
Makes sense. Tackling it from multiple angles, how you register, and also what gets registered.
Yeah.
What about the people running the system? Any changes on the administrative or legal side?
Yes, there are changes there too. It's not just tech, it's rethinking the governance. The bill introduces new roles like additional and assistant inspector generals of registration.
More oversight.
That seems to be the goal. Stronger oversight, more accountability, hopefully plugging some gaps from the old fragmented system. There are also clearer rules now about when a document can be refused registration, like if there's no proper translation provided or if it's submitted way too late beyond a 4-month window, for instance.
So clearer grounds for refusal.
Exactly. And the Inspector General gets more power to actually cancel registrations if they find out false info was given or the act was breached. Though, importantly, they have to give written reasons, and there's a 30-day appeal period, so there's still due process.
Right, checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. And one other legal point, the bill reduces the maximum prison sentence for some related offenses from 7 years down to 3 or a fine or both.
Interesting. Why the reduction?
Well, it often signals a shift in thinking, maybe moving towards seeing these more as administrative issues requiring correction or fines rather than purely criminal matters needing long sentences. It aims for penalties that feel more proportionate, perhaps.
Okay, so it really is a top-to-bottom overhaul. Simplifying things for users, tightening the legal framework, adjusting the admin.
Yeah.
It sounds quite comprehensive. Well, let's bring it back to the listener. Well, what does all this mean for you? If you're thinking of buying, selling, investing, what's the real-world upshot?
Okay, let's synthesize. For home buyers, the big takeaways are potentially faster, safer, definitely less bureaucratic transactions, and as we highlighted, possibly quicker home loan approvals, which is huge.
Less hassle, basically.
Less hassle, more confidence. For the real estate sector itself, more transparency, less fraud, quicker deal cycles, and that clearer ownership trail we talked about. And for the legal system, we saw experts noting this could really cut down the time needed for due diligence, title checks.
Sorting out ownership disputes.
Yes, potentially making court processes more efficient, leading to faster resolution when disputes do happen involving these registered documents.
And the wider economy.
Well, a smoother, more trustworthy property system could make India more attractive for investment, both domestic and foreign. It builds confidence.
It really does sound like a potential game changer. Huge benefits across the board. But, big changes always come with questions, potential bumps in the road. What are the main concerns or things we should keep an eye on as this bill progresses?
That's wise. No silver bullets, right? Our sources flag a couple of key areas. First, as we touched on, cybersecurity. It cannot be overstated. With everything moving to digital archives, relying on e-signatures, the systems protecting all that data have to be incredibly strong. A breach would be catastrophic.
Yeah, trust is paramount there. What else?
The second area is potential procedural gaps. Specifically, concerns about delegating certain functions, things with real legal weight, like valuing stamp duty or officially transferring title to what are called Common Services Centers, or CSCs.
These are the local digital access points, often in rural areas.
Exactly. They're vital for making services accessible, but the question is whether they have the necessary legal expertise for these complex registration tasks. Handing those off might create near issues or inconsistencies if not managed carefully.
Yeah, ensuring the right level of expertise at every step is key.
Absolutely. And just on that note, it's worth remembering this is still a draft bill. The Department of Land Resources is running a pre-legislative consultation. People can actually review it and send feedback until June 25th, 2025.
So there's still time for input and potential adjustments.
Yes, the process is ongoing.
Well, this bill certainly holds exciting potential. A real chance to modernize India's property sector, dragging it from, dusty files and stamp pads firmly onto modern servers. It feels like a necessary leap towards making a complex process more accessible and secure for everyone.
It really does. And maybe a final thought for you to ponder. As property ownership and transactions shift so fundamentally into this digital space, how might that change our very idea of trust? And what new responsibilities does this place on all of us as individuals to manage our own digital security and improve our digital literacy in this new landscape? Something to think about.